Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 22 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang, the podcast brought to you by Extension Marketing. And for more information, you can head to extensionmarketing.com. One of the places I seem to be heading to a lot more these days is Natural Food Pantry. It's been a total pleasure and an honor to actually come on board as their brand ambassador. And with that, I have met some really amazing people, some really smart people, and people that are actually helping me shift my mindset when it comes to food and what I'm bringing home to the kids and to the family. I'd like to welcome Natasha Villeneuve to the show. Natasha, great to have you here. Thanks. On my, kind of like in my setting.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Rather than in yours in the store. It's so nice to have you. We've already had a couple of really interesting conversations.
We have. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
It has been, and you have a really interesting job. Just to make the introduction, you've come on board with Natural Food Pantry, and they've got the 4 locations here in the city, but as like a lead educator, like to really oversee everything that's being offered and talked and kind of seminars and workshops, everything that has to go on with the store.
Yeah, well, we launched the Education Initiative a year and a half ago, actually, with the intention of bringing more awareness and education to our customers. It's really important. I feel that education is key. Mm-hmm. People aren't going to make changes unless they understand why it's necessary to do so, right? So it's a lot of fun running the Education Initiative.
You seem to have a great passion for what it is that you do, the background in holistic nutrition. So everyone, I think, to get to having that passion or that story has their own story as to why it's so meaningful for them. And I'm assuming that there was a choice for you, that there was a reason why you chose this form of an occupation and an interest in something to study.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it all started when I was in my late teens. I had developed some severe digestive issues. I had IBS, which is really just an umbrella term for a bunch of symptoms that go undiagnosed, right? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of shy about it, so I didn't want to go to the doctors about it. I kept it to myself, but I experienced a lot of bloating, a lot of pain. After I ate a meal, I would feel really full and bloated. Like I would look like I was about 7 months pregnant, and just a lot of discomfort. It turned into inflammation around my midsection as well. So I was a dancer at the time, and it interfered with my dancing because I had a lot of pain. I felt exhausted after I ate. I'd eat a meal and then I'd feel like I need to take a nap after. And I was only 17 years old.
You're 17, and if you're telling me that you're a dancer, I'm assuming that you're lean. I mean, you're lean as I look at you right now. But to feel like you're 7 months pregnant, like did your parents understand this? Like were you discussing this with them as you're heading into mealtime?
I didn't really bring it to my parents a whole lot. No, I was pretty shy about it. I didn't understand what was going on with my body. I thought that maybe, I don't know, I didn't really understand. But when I was 18, my parents bought tickets to go see Anthony Robbins, motivational speaker. He came to Ottawa to do a personal power workshop, and kids 18 and under could attend for free. So they kind of dragged my brother and I along, and I thought, I don't need motivation. What's this all about? I went with a negative kind of attitude.
Kicking and screaming at 18.
Yeah.
While other people were paying hundreds of dollars.
Thousands, actually.
Okay, yeah.
And it turned out to be a 3-day workshop, and on the last day of his workshop, he talked about nutrition. He was promoting a program that was really popular at that time that involved a vegan diet and proper food combining. And so because the weekend was so empowering, I decided to change my diet overnight. And within 2 weeks, Leanne, 2 weeks, I felt, I'd say 90% better. My symptoms disappeared. My energy was back. The inflammation settled. It was incredible. So that was a huge experience for me. It was eye-opening.
Wow. That first of all, that you were able to be inspired.
Yeah.
What was it about the information that Tony was offering you that as an 18-year-old you went overnight and shifted? Like what was it that was connecting with you from what he was saying for you to realize, okay, let's just go home and try to do the shift?
I think the weekend as a whole was just so empowering. He was so motivating. He was so inspiring. He was talking about, this was a long time ago, so I don't remember the whole experience, but we did a lot of activities, interactive activities, a lot of self-reflection. And he just really, for me, inspired me to make some big changes in my life and really set the tone for personal choice, and that, a simple choice in action in your life can turn things around. So I decided to do it. And
okay, overnight. So what are you as an 18-year-old deciding at the next meal, on Monday morning that you're not going to consume?
Well, so I went from a typical North American sort of diet. My diet wasn't horrible, but we ate standard, meat, potatoes, a vegetable. So there was usually a salad. Sometimes the vegetable was corn or peas, a more starchy sort of veggie. It wasn't a horrible diet, but it was kind of your standard North American. To going vegan overnight and practicing proper food combining, which involves eliminating carbs and protein at the same meal, or avoiding carbs and protein at the same meal.
I'm not going to age you, but this was done like 20 plus years ago, when it really wasn't hip, cool, or wasn't a lot of information out there to that kind of way of eating.
Well, that particular diet was pretty trendy back then. You know how nutrition works. There's always trends. And that was a pretty big trend.
Like 25 years ago?
Within, I guess, the health industry, or the holistic industry.
Okay.
So I'm pretty fortunate that I came across it, because it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't mainstream. And it's not something that I necessarily promote or follow today. But it did change my life, and I stuck with it for a good 10 years. It wasn't until I became pregnant with my firstborn that I realized that diet was no longer ideal for me, and I had to change my nutrition again. But that really just set the that helped me understand how much of an impact nutrition really has on our health. So at that time, I had registered for architectural technology at Humber College. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was good at drawing. It was kind of a pick out of a hat, right? Yeah. And I went through the program for 3 years and graduated. But the whole time I was studying architectural technology, I was reading on nutrition. I was attending nutrition seminars. I was in Toronto. So, I was going to the health expos and just
you were empowering yourself just for your own knowledge.
Exactly. And then after I graduated from Humber, I worked in the field for a little while. I was a project manager for a franchising company, and I'd go into work with my green drinks and all my healthy foods, and people would ask me, "What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you doing?" So I was talking to people about it and inspiring them to make changes. And one day I thought, you know what if I can make a career out of this? So I started to look into it, and I had no idea that holistic nutrition even existed as an option out there. I thought it was, dietitian, mainstream, or nothing. And I came across two schools, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, and decided to go to their open houses and check it out. And the next thing you know, I was enrolled in IHN.
Was it the holistic? I mean, you add in the word holistic in there, and what makes that different?
Well, that was really critical for me. Holistic really includes the whole mind, body, spirit aspect of health. It's not just about the physical. Holistic practitioners, they consider your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. And that's a big part of the healing process, I feel. It was for me and still is. And that's something that I definitely speak to people about when I'm helping them with their own journey.
So you leave your journey of being in architectural design.
Right.
And you start to take these classes.
Yeah.
What was it like being in class and being inundated with this information?
Oh, it was amazing. I felt like for the first time in my life, I felt like I was at home. I felt like I had met my spiritual family, if that makes sense. Like everybody, just being around people who are like-minded with the same interests and passions and wanting to share this information and help people was incredible. And the program was amazing. I mean, it was only a 1-year program full time, but it was so intense. We were just...
The intensity of it was you were living, breathing, eating kind of food, essentially. What was the most fascinating part? Was it consumption? Was it, the nutritional value of how foods heal, or how, where was it for you that you seemed most engrossed in the learning?
Wow, that's a really good question, because I loved every single course throughout the program.
You can't say that for a lot of people. I don't think I loved every course I ever took in school. No, not
I liked
at all.
it all. I loved the sciences, so anatomy and physiology, biochem, that was really fascinating. And then there were the nutrition courses, nutritional symptomatology, where you learn about different symptoms and how they relate to nutritional deficiencies. There was pathology. And then there was the mind body, the holistic side of it, Ayurveda and psychology of disease, where you're learning about different constitutions and how to balance the body and how to deal with the emotional side of things. So it was an amazing program.
When in there were you sitting and looking back at your 18-year-old self going, I can see how this changed, right? Because you, at 18 and you changed your diet, you understood what you were doing, but not to the same level as you understood it, 6 years later or 5 years later when you're actually learning about what it was.
I don't think I really considered that so much when I was in the program. It was later on in life, I think around the time I had kids, that I really started to realize, wow, that did make such a difference, and this is why. You
talk about the IBS. I'm assuming that's probably it's something that I feel is talked about more openly.
Yes.
So you feel that a lot more people are suffering. And I'm assuming, especially with people coming into Natural Food Pantry, that's often a question that's being asked.
Oh, for sure.
How to deal, what it is. Is it a food intolerance? Is it a food allergy? I mean, this is such a big topic of conversation.
It is, and digestion is really foundational. If you're not digesting properly, you're not going to absorb nutrients, right? Because part of the digestive process is to break down our food. It's to break down our food to individual nutrients, which we then absorb into the bloodstream and are carried to our cells and our tissues in the body. So our body requires all 72 vitamins and minerals to function properly. And if we're not getting those through our diet, and if we're not absorbing those because we have inflammatory conditions in the gut, we have, poor gut integrity, then we're going to be deficient and health imbalances will occur. So if we're not absorbing nutrients properly and we're accumulating a lot of toxins and waste products in the digestive system, then we can't be healthy. It's impossible. So digestion is foundational. And because there's so many processed foods today, and there's so many contaminants that reach us from the water we drink, the air we breathe, stress, diet. It's really hard to achieve. Well, I shouldn't say it's hard to achieve optimal digestion. It takes work, and it takes awareness for sure.
The awareness is probably the first key to this, right? Or it's actually, no, I'm going to backtrack. Pain is usually the first indicator. I think people don't react until they're in pain. Just like you were. You were 18 years old, and you were in pain. You would finish a meal and you would be in pain. And I think sometimes it takes that. It takes you being so out of balance and so uncomfortable for you to finally speak out about it.
Well, and pain brings awareness, right? Because symptoms in the body it's our body's way of communicating with us. So if you have an ache or a pain somewhere, your body is calling your attention to that area for a reason. It wants you to do something about it, to pay attention and to make some changes.
So you typically have people coming in saying, I'm in pain. I'm eating and I'm in pain, or I'm bloated, or I'm in discomfort.
Or my joints hurt, or I have hormonal imbalances and I'm moody all the time, or I'm stressed out, or I'm tired, or I have no sex drive, or, there's so many issues.
Do you get that? Like, are people open and honest sometimes when they come in? They're just...
More than you would think.
Yeah, I like that. Because that's it. Like, on any given day, you're having someone you've never met come off the street.
Yeah.
And kind of expose their problems.
Yeah, but I think more and more people are open about that today.
But it's good that people feel like, listen, I need somebody to be honest with.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily they're always walking into that doctor's office.
That's right. And we have trained nutritionists on staff at all 4 of our locations all the time. So, these nutritionists come from the 2 schools that I mentioned, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and IHN, the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, and they have a solid background. So they're able to help people address their concerns and get down to the root cause of a problem, because often what somebody comes in with is not the actual issue, the main issue, right? It takes a little bit of investigative work, some questioning to really figure out what the true imbalance is.
How important do you feel, though, is it to have the background of the schooling? Especially in the day and age of social media, of Instagram, and people posting, little things. And I do it, right? But I'm not trying to pretend that I know the answers. I'm just like, this is what I do, this is what I enjoy, and I'll post it. But that you need to have the credentials, especially when you're talking about major life illness or health, that you want to go to someone who's had the education behind them.
For sure. There's a lot of good information online. You can certainly access certain information, and a lot of it is valid, but it is definitely worth going to see a professional or speaking to a professional who is trained, because as nutritionists, we learn about all the intricacies and the detailed information that you're not going to find online, like symptoms of certain nutritional deficiencies. And it can be confusing too, because certain symptoms in the body can be mistaken as earlier I said that we have to really consider the root cause of an illness, and sometimes it can be confusing and difficult to figure out what that is unless you have the training.
Okay, so let's go through some of the things, because you just listed, I think, 6 right there that I'm like, I want to talk about that, I want to talk about that, I want to talk about that, and you even brought up, sex drive. So we'll get to that too. Okay, so let's kind of go into that. I would think a major thing, especially with people walking into a type of store like Natural Food Pantry, weight loss.
Yes.
I'm assuming is probably one of the main things, right? Especially if people are looking to make a change, or it seems to be the kind of the motivator.
Yeah.
How often is that happening?
That happens a lot, definitely. There's a lot of people who come in with weight loss as a concern. Usually they have a few other health concerns tied into it, like blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes, blood sugar imbalances. But yeah, sometimes people are coming in just to learn about, how they can lose a few pounds. And that's a tricky one, because if they're not losing weight, there could be so many factors involved, right? It could be that they're not exercising. It could be that their metabolism is imbalanced. It could be that they're lacking certain nutrients. It could be that they have hormonal imbalances. So that's where, again, I stress it's really important that they speak to a holistic nutritionist, because that trained professional can help them figure out why it is that they're not losing weight. It's not just about taking one supplement or one pill.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Like, do they come in saying, can I have the magic pill, please? Because I want to lose 10, 20, 30 pounds. When is that discussion when they're asking you for the magic pill? That, because they're in a natural food store, there's got to be something naturally that's going to do that. Do you start to ask them those questions?
Right off the bat. And there are some products that will help people lose a few pounds right off the bat if they want to go on a cruise or a trip, or you're preparing for a wedding and they just need to shed a few pounds. There are products that will help with that. But maintaining it long term is a different story, right? We really need to look at everything: their overall health, their nutritional situation, their lifestyle, if they want to maintain it long term.
And what is for you that long-term goal setting?
What's involved?
Let's go. I mean, you have that background and people
Right.
are looking for these answers. What for you is involved in that long-term sustainable weight loss?
So in terms of nutrition, it's really important to eat meals fairly frequently throughout the day. You don't want to go long periods of time without eating.
Right. Does it drive you nuts when people are like, well, I'm hardly eating,
Yes.
I'm trying not to eat very much. I'm counting all of my calories. That's got to be the counterintuitive for you when you have people come in.
Yeah, well, and I've done that. I've been there and I've done that, right? We all have. And it may result in some quick weight loss initially.
Yeah.
But long term, it really imbalances. It creates some imbalances within the metabolism, and most people end up gaining more weight afterward. So it's not a long term strategy. So eating meals frequently, ensuring that you have enough fiber in the diet. Most people should be eating 40 grams of fiber a day, and the average person only eats about 15. So increasing vegetables. Vegetables are key. Vegetables on a lot of weight loss programs are considered freebies, right? Especially the non-starchy veggies like the salad greens and cucumbers and celery. And so that you can fill up on those. Ensuring that you get enough protein and fat is really critical. So a lot of people are afraid of fat.
I've learned to love it. My faux fat sour creams and my avocados, I've had to do that mind shift, because I think for so long, I know, especially with me, I was doing I would say a good 10, 15 years, especially when I was training, it was like the non-fat, right? I was the non-fat everything. And, and I maintained that for a long time. And I've found, once I kind of became more knowledgeable and started actually listening, especially to a lot of the guests that would come on the show, I was like, you're right. I'm thinking backwards. I need the healthy fats.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's encouraging when you're like, yay, I get to eat this stuff again, right?
Yeah.
And it's making me feel better.
Yeah, well, they sustain you. They're important for your skin, for your hormones, for your energy, for your brain and your nervous system. So cutting them out is definitely not a good idea. And it's really important to consider we need all three macronutrients. So carbohydrates, fats, protein, they're all essential. But, all of the diet trends that are out there tend to eliminate one. And so I think it's really about finding that balance. And biochemical individuality is so important too.
Right. Every person is different.
Every person is different. Everybody has different requirements, different needs, different lifestyle, different background. So looking at where somebody's at in the moment, what they're doing, what their age is, what their gender is, what their activity level is, what their stress level is, and what's practical for them is really important too.
Which do you find of all of those things that you just listed is most important?
Oh,
you said stress. You said
I have to pick one.
Like where would you list them? Like,
you know what?
For your own.
Yeah. I would say stress. Mm-hmm. I would say stress. I noticed I was in private practice for about 13 years consulting with clients, and one thing I noticed was people could eat really, really healthy, like really clean, 100% clean, and have high levels of stress, and they would still suffer somewhere. Their health would suffer in some way. Then, you have these people who go off on vacation, no stress. They're just chilling out, relaxing, enjoying, having a good time, and following a moderately healthy diet, like still eating fairly clean, but indulging here and there.
On vacation.
Yeah, and they feel great. Their inflammation disappears, their energy is good, they're sleeping well, they feel good. So I think stress is really, really key. And in today's life, who isn't stressed, right? We're all suffering from chronic stress and go, deadlines, pressure.
Yeah, sleep. I would have definitely listed sleep on there. And I've told a lot of people, and a lot of people know, like I didn't have any. Like I was really lacking. And I was constantly frustrated over like this midsection layer that I had for the last 10 years that I just couldn't seem to get rid of. I'm 7 months of sleep. It's disappeared.
Wow, that's
like
amazing.
That extra layer that I've been carrying for years and years that I just couldn't, no matter how much exercise or how clean I ate. And it was sleep. It was that cortisol.
Yeah.
That just was sitting at the top of my stomach and right around my midsection.
And that was the only change you made?
Sleep has been the only, let's be realistic. I'm exercising the same. I'm eating very similar. I'm sleeping. And I look better. Skin, like is sleep. Yeah. It has been such a massive, significant change in everything.
Well, you're a mom. Just think about, when the kids were little and you were waking up at night with them. I know for me, I experienced severe brain fog when my kids were little and exhaustion.
And it's real. It's a real thing. Mm-hmm.
It's real. A lot of my naturopathic doctor colleagues will prescribe sleep as their first recommendation before nutrition, before supplements. Sleep is often recommended as a first. The 8 hours of sleep starting at 10 o'clock p.m. in or around there.
And it definitely makes the changes. Okay, so that was kind of the one thing. You just mentioned the supplements.
Yes.
Can we hit on that, because I find it overwhelming.
Yeah.
I find when you look at a wall of supplements, it's overwhelming and you don't even know where to start. Like, do I start? You mentioned we need the fiber and we need the magnesium and we need I'm scared to even take a multivitamin still. Like,
really?
like I'm trying to, but I find, and I'm educated, I think, and I still have an issue of kind of looking at a wall going, I don't even know what to take. What's important? This podcast is brought to you by Extension Marketing. They are a new breed of marketing agency that acts as your virtual marketing department, designing and implementing cost-effective marketing strategies that will grow your business. I can speak to this personally, as I've been using the Extension Marketing team to help me launch and grow my business. Founder Pat Whalen has been a lifesaver for me, a genuine coach, guiding me along the way into uncharted territory. Tell them you're a friend of the show and receive a free 1-hour consultation. Check them out at extensionmarketing.com.
Well, there's some essentials that I think everybody should be taking. So you mentioned a multivitamin. I would say, in my opinion, either a multivitamin or a green drink. Have you ever had a green drink? Like green, veggie greens or the sea greens?
See, I prefer going and having one of those kale, spinach, cucumber, apple drinks.
Okay. Yep, a juice.
Like a juice over putting a scoop of a green veggie into a glass of water, mixing it up and trying to down it. I have a hard time.
Well, both are really good. Do you have a hard time with the taste or the idea?
I have a hard time with the taste and the idea of the mixed, like the powder stuff. But I will love to go and have like a kale, spinach, cucumber drink.
So great.
Yeah.
Have your juice,
Yeah.
your drink,
Yeah.
and take a multivitamin
Okay.
as insurance. A multivitamin is like an insurance policy. It has a little bit of everything in it, so it ensures that you don't become deficient in one nutrient or another. Because it's really hard.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. There are shitty multivitamins out there.
There are.
And there are good multivitamins out
Yeah.
there. Is this where you make your investment?
Yes. And
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not throwing, but like the Flintstone,
Yeah.
there are things that just,
Yeah.
you're wasting your money. It's not getting absorbed.
so a lot of the multivitamins, not all of them, but a lot of the multivitamins in the commercial world and in the big mass stores are made with synthetic ingredients. They're manufactured, they're fabricated, whereas a lot of the higher end brand multivitamins that you'll find at Natural Food Pantry have natural ingredients. They're plant-based nutrients. Obviously they're still processed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not picking a tablet or a capsule off a tree. It has to be processed to some degree, but the processing is less and it comes from more natural ingredients.
Which means there's a better absorption.
A way better absorption, assimilation. Your body recognizes it, right? If our body doesn't recognize chemicals, it recognizes them, but it knows that it has to filter them and detoxify them. And that's stressful on the body. So if we're eating foods and supplements that are more natural, it's much easier for our body to accept those nutrients.
And then what about the rest of the supplement wall?
Yeah.
What do you say when someone looks at it? Because sometimes I'll look at it and then you just walk the other direction.
Well, most people who come into the store are coming
Yeah.
in for a particular concern,
Okay.
right? So they won't visit the whole wall. They'll visit a certain section in the supplement department. So we do have the supplement department broken down into categories for joint health, for hormones, for pregnancy, the sports. There's so many different sections. And the staff can certainly help guide them. But some other, essentials are an omega supplement. So you've probably heard of omega-3, 6, 9 fatty acids, particularly omega-3, which comes from mainly fish oil. There are plant-based oils as well that contain omega-3 for vegans. But that's a nutrient that we're all deficient in. It's impossible to get enough omega-3 in the diet unless we eat a ton of cold water fish and a ton of seeds. But who does? And fish isn't really that clean anymore, so it's not recommended to eat fish every day, right? So omega-3 is critical for our heart health, for our skin, for our hormones, for our brain, for our nervous system. There's blood pressure. It's essential. It's called an essential fatty acid because our body cannot manufacture it. We have to get it through diet. So supplementing with something like a high quality fish oil is really important as well. And that's something that people can take from age 2 and up. So that's vitamin D is another one, right? Throughout the winter especially, we're all deficient in vitamin D. And you can go get your blood levels checked by your doctor. You can go into a lab and check your vitamin D levels. And I haven't spoken to a single person who had theirs checked and learned that it was optimal without supplementing.
Yeah, or unless they're living in Florida.
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
it to Canadians living there and our snowbirds.
Yeah.
So those are some of the big ones that you see people coming in for, and that for you are your recommendations.
Those are some of the staples.
Yeah.
And then there's other
Yeah.
really good products for specific health concerns like.
Okay, let's start with those. Let's go digestion.
Okay.
Especially, and I'm realizing in talking to a lot of people, gut health
Yeah.
is pretty much the main thing you need to be concerned of, because that gut health is triggering everything else in your body.
That's right. Yeah. So to help support digestion and help heal the gut, there's tons of products that you can take. If somebody has something like, IBS, bloating, gas, they feel full after a meal, indigestion, then something like a full spectrum digestive enzyme is really critical. We produce enzymes naturally. Our pancreas produces enzymes, our small intestine produces enzymes. But with age and stress, the enzyme production decreases. So supplementing with a plant-based enzyme actually helps you break down your food more effectively. And it's interesting. I do a little demonstration at my digestion seminars where I cook some oatmeal and let it sit overnight, and it solidifies. Oatmeal becomes pretty hard if it sits overnight. So I have the 2 bowls of oatmeal, and I'll sprinkle a digestive enzyme capsule at the beginning of my seminar on one bowl. By the end of the seminar, it's liquefied.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have loved to be part of that seminar. Okay, so that's the power of how much it's able to help
break down your food. Because often when people are experiencing bloating or gas or indigestion, it's a sign that the food is just sitting in the gut. It's sitting there fermenting. It's not moving along. It's not digesting. So the enzymes help you break down the food more effectively. And then there's probiotics. You've heard of probiotics, I'm sure. Hot topic. You can get probiotics in pill form in the refrigerator section of the health food store. You can get products like food products like sauerkraut and kombucha and kefir. One of my favorites is cultured coconut, which is a coconut kefir rather than a dairy-based kefir. And these products naturally contain probiotics. Probiotics are the good bacteria for our gut.
And you use IBS because I think that it's being used on a much more broad spectrum, right? Because people aren't being able to be diagnosed. And unfortunately, if it's severe, you get Crohn's and colitis. Like, there are serious diseases that are affected within the gut. But when you're not diagnosed and you kind of have this IBS on a general sense, the discomfort or the constipation, I'm assuming when you're talking about it's just sitting there fermenting, not moving anywhere, that people are looking to find relief.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So in terms of constipation, which is a common problem, diarrhea is as well, though, too, right? Depending on the individual. But with either constipation or diarrhea, you really need to consider fiber. Because fiber helps to form the stool. So there's fiber supplements that are seed-based. One of my favorites is a Renew Life product called Fiber Smart, and it contains ground flaxseed as well as some other plant-based fibers. Has both the soluble and the insoluble fiber. So taking something like that is fantastic. And drinking lots of water is really important. If you take fiber without the water, it will just make things harder and more impacted.
It's going to hurt more.
Yeah, the water is really important. And when increasing fiber, it's really important to go slow too and gradually increase over time, because you don't want to go from 15 grams of fiber one day to 40 grams the next. That can cause some pretty serious discomfort as well. And going back to the green drinks that I'm a big fan of, because they contain a lot of nutrients naturally. They're high in fiber as well. They have the fiber, they have chlorophyll, they have probiotics in them. A lot of them have certain herbs like milk thistle and dandelion that support the liver, and the liver is part of the digestive process.
Like, for most people though, you're right now you're mentioning, dandelion, like what were you mentioning? Dandelion.
Milk thistle and dandelion.
Yeah, milk thistle. I mean, like, this is just not part of my vocabulary, right? Most people aren't thinking about that. We're looking at a dandelion, and it's just like it's like weed growing in my front yard. Like, what is this doing to benefit? Yeah, like, so what? Where is this information? Like, what is coming from them that these natural foods or plants or weeds are doing? Like, what does the dandelion do?
Dandelion stimulates digestion, so it's bitter tasting. The dandelion leaves from the dandelion plant are very bitter tasting, and anything bitter tasting stimulates digestion. It stimulates our liver to produce bile. It stimulates the stomach to produce hydrochloric acid. It stimulates our pancreas to produce enzymes. So in a lot of cultures, they take a bitter before a meal for that reason, to stimulate the digestive process.
Really? How would they... Like, in what customs are they eating a bitter, and what would the bitter be?
Oh my gosh, in just about every culture other than ours.
Really?
So, well, I mean, there's teas, there's tonics and teas, salads, bitter green leafy greens like dandelion and arugula. A lot of the dark leafy greens and your mescaline mixes have a natural bitter taste. So in a lot of cultures, they'll start their meal with the salad before they before they move on to the main
I just thought it
course.
was a nice appetizer, but there's an actual reason
There's
for
a
it.
reason for it. You know what? And even if you think about eating something bitter, you will start to produce those digestive juices.
Really?
Yeah. There's been research on
Okay,
that.
so for those of you who are listening, before dinner tonight, start picturing yourself eating...
Dandelions, sucking on a lemon.
Sucking on a lemon.
Yeah, so lemon water, apple cider vinegar, aloe vera juice. All three of those are very bitter. So starting your meal with one of those and a little bit of water is helpful for digestion as well.
That's a good trick.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's
Okay.
practical, right? So a lot of people do the apple cider vinegar thing. They'll take a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a little bit of cool or warm water before a meal. Ideally about 15, 20 minutes before a meal. But if you don't think of it 15 minutes before, taking it just before is still beneficial. And that helps to promote digestion. It also helps with metabolism. You were talking about weight loss earlier. It really helps to burn fat. There's so many benefits. It reduces inflammation in the body. Lemon's another good one. You can do that. I put a glass of water beside my bed before I go to bed at night with lemon in it, with about half of a fresh lemon in it. And in the morning, that's the first thing I consume when I get up, because lemon is very cleansing to the digestive system. It stimulates digestion. It's kind of like a
So you let it
wake
sit
up.
overnight, like you do.
Yeah.
You do it to be able to consume in the morning. You're
Yeah.
not using it at night. You do it so that when you wake up, you grab it and drink it.
That's right. It's right there. I won't forget. I don't have to go downstairs to the fridge. I can grab it on my way to the bathroom in the morning, and it's literally the first thing I have. And I highly recommend that for everybody, especially for people who consume coffee. Have the lemon water before you have the coffee.
These are good little tricks. Like I can do that.
Yeah.
Like I can do that. I can cut up a lemon,
Yeah.
squeeze it in, go to
Yeah.
bed, and
Yeah.
have that. And why, especially for those that are having coffee?
Well, coffee's a diuretic. So a lot of people will start off their morning with a coffee. It's the first thing they're putting
Yeah.
in their body. And we need to hydrate. Think about it, you're sleeping for, let's say, 8 hours without having consumed any liquid. You're dehydrated when you wake up. I don't know. A lot of people don't notice that they're thirsty, but your body is thirsty when you wake up. So hydrating with
We
the
usually
lemon
want to
water.
get rid of the liquid.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do is you get up and you
That's
go
true.
pee, right?
Yeah. But on a cellular level, you need the hydration. And lemon is also very alkalizing for the body. We tend to be, in today's day and age, we tend to be too acidic because processed foods, meats, sugar, stress all create an acidic environment in the body. And acidity corrodes. It corrodes. Think of it as like rusting the body, right? It draws calcium from our joints, our bones. It causes inflammation in the body. So neutralizing that acidity with lemon in the morning will help with any conditions related to acidity.
Okay, I like that. Really good information. Okay, next thing you talked about, people come in and they'll mention sex drive.
Yeah.
Or lack of.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
Well, have to figure out.
Does his age? I'll ask, does age come into play in this
Exactly.
one? Right, you know. But come on. You got a 35-year-old male walking in there with that. There's something like
going on.
Yeah, what are the questions that you're asking then, or what are natural ways to be able to?
Well, often it's linked back to stress and the cortisol and, the whole endocrine system. The endocrine system is quite complex. So we have adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and they secrete adrenaline and cortisol, all those stress hormones. If they become, let's say, burnt out or depleted because we're under chronic stress, those adrenal glands are only meant to deal with acute stress. So traditionally, they would put us in a fight or flight response, when we were under attack. But today, people are walking around under stress all the time. So their poor adrenal glands are being depleted. And once they run out of fuel, it has a cascade effect on the rest of the endocrine system. So the adrenal glands naturally secrete hormones that stimulate our thyroid gland. And if the adrenal glands are low or depleted, the thyroid won't receive that stimulation. So an imbalance occurs there. A health problem occurs within the thyroid. And the thyroid, we know, is linked to metabolism, body temperature. It's involved in heart rate. There's lots of our hormonal system as a whole as well. So if the thyroid becomes depleted, then it affects the male or the female reproductive system. So if somebody's coming in with low sex drive or any kind of dysfunction within that area, you have to link it back. You have to link it back to the adrenals, to the initial, and really work on strengthening that whole endocrine system. So there's herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola and ginseng that are known as adrenal tonics. These stem back from Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, and that's a good place to go. But there's also products that help to increase blood flow to the area and stimulate and balance.
That aren't just a blue pill.
Right.
They're more of a natural kind of.
Well, there's both. There's both. So it depends if somebody just wants a quick fix for that one evening, or if they want to really help.
Or if they want to be able to sustain and be able to kind of enjoy that. So it's interesting, though, that there are things that you can come in for and naturally try to stimulate your body to kind of get in sync without having to use mainstream medicine as your first option.
That's right. There's products that, for instance, I'm going to switch to joint pain and arthritis. Curcumin from turmeric is a very popular product these days for joint pain and inflammation. Turmeric is a root. And within...
Don't we put it as a spice?
We do.
Okay.
It's a spice in curries.
Yeah.
It's the really orange-colored spice. It comes from India. And in India, they use it for just about everything from skin conditions to inflammation to digestive issues. Brides will cover themselves in turmeric the night before they get married because it gives their skin a really warm, golden sort of glow. But anyways, turmeric contains curcumin. Curcumin is an active ingredient within turmeric that really works to reduce inflammation in the body. There's tons of scientific evidence that shows that curcumin is as effective as Advil at reducing inflammation.
How are you consuming it then?
In capsule form.
Okay, so it's not like you can mix the spice with the cream and put the cream on your...
You can, but if you're mixing the spice, you're not going to get a whole concentrated level of curcumin. So you can do both. I've made pastes out of turmeric. For one time, my son stubbed his toe and it was really swollen. So I made a paste with honey and turmeric, applied it overnight, and the next morning his toe was fine. It's incredible. The healing properties of plants is so fascinating.
That's what I'm getting at, right? Like that's pretty neat.
It is.
But the thing is, most of us aren't going to take the time to make
to do that. Do that. You can also buy it.
So it's right. So it would be a capsule form. So if you've got severe inflammation, you're in pain. Like, are we talking like arthritic pain?
Yes.
Okay. It's one of the things that you recommend for people.
It's one of the things, There's fish oil is important as well. There's lots that they can do, and there's formulas. Different companies make formulas with curcumin and other herbs and ingredients that help. So again, it really comes down to the individual, what their symptoms are, what they're already taking. If they're taking certain medications, there may be some counteractions that we would know about, or they might have to check in with a pharmacist as well.
Women's health, going from pregnancy to menstrual cycles and menopause. I mean, you've pretty much got like a full spectrum of starting at 13, working all your way up. Yeah. Are there a lot of people, are there young women coming in asking questions? Or
there are. I would say the average demographic is 30s, 40s, 50s. There are some younger women coming in for sure. I think kids these days are becoming more aware and more educated. And there's more health concerns, unfortunately, right? With today's lifestyle, diseases and health problems are starting at a younger age.
Or the difference is, Natasha, you were 17, dealing as a dancer with IBS that you didn't tell anybody about, right? Like that you were feeling horrific after your meals, and yet maybe there are kids now that are more open to dialogue, or there's more conversation. That it's like that they can say to mom or dad, something's not right, I want to kind of figure this out.
Yeah, well, it is more open these days, right? The high school across the street from my house is offering holistic health and yoga as an actual credit course. I love it.
I would have liked to take that course for sure. Can you give us a couple of tips or anything when we're talking heavy menstrual cycles, like, or, women that are in excruciating pain or cramping, heavy bleeding? What are some of the things that are available?
Well, there's, again, like a whole variety of products, but really addressing, there's a few foundational issues that are really important to address when it comes to women's health problems. And one is the liver, believe it or not. The liver is, most people think of the liver as an organ of detoxification, right? It's our filter. It removes toxins from the body. And it does. It certainly does. But it's also involved in over 2,000 functions. It's really critical. It's a really critical organ. It's involved in digestion, regulating hormones, detoxing the body, delivering nutrients throughout the body, storing nutrients. There's so many functions. And the liver is, it is key in women's hormonal issues, because if it becomes a little sluggish due to toxic accumulation in the body, it has a big job to do. It may not be able to inactivate certain hormones. So when there's an excess of certain hormones, such as estrogen or xenoestrogens in the body. Have you heard of xenoestrogens?
In passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So xenoestrogens are chemicals that mimic estrogen in the body, and they come from things like plastic and pesticides. So we all accumulate these xenoestrogens in the body. Body doesn't know what to do with them, and the liver needs to detoxify them. If we develop an excess, and if the liver's not keeping up, then we start to develop issues within the reproductive system, like cysts and fibroids and polyps and fibrocystic breast disease. These are all conditions that possibly may indicate estrogen dominance in the body. So supporting the liver will help the body balance and regulate those hormones.
How are we doing that? Like what?
Going back to the bitters. So
really?
the bitters are really critical for the liver. Cruciferous vegetables are really important for the liver. So broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. They have certain nutrients that help to support liver health. Drinking lots of water with lemon. Eating a fairly clean diet, and by clean I mean plant-based. 70% of our intake should be plant-based: fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, what we're naturally built to eat, to consume. And then there's products that you can take to support the liver, something like EstroSense. EstroSense contains milk thistle, which I mentioned earlier, dandelion. It has certain nutrients and herbs. It's a herbal and vitamin combination that works to support the liver and balance the female hormones. But then there's other products like MenoSense that's more specific for women who are going through menopause and are experiencing hot flashes and low sex drive and all of the menopause anxiety, waking up at night. That's another herbal and vitamin combination that helps deal with those specific problems.
It's funny because you mention everything, and the more you're talking, the more I'm looking at this domino effect.
Yeah. Right?
Because you kind of low sex drive and you're not getting sleep, and then the sleep you're getting, anxious about not sleeping, and then I don't think people realize that when things are out of order or out of sequence, and you're not working, the function isn't working well. That's why we're dealing with disease and so many issues, that if we're able to backtrack a little bit,
yes,
and start with the one trigger of the domino effect,
yes,
how lucky we could possibly be as to kind of putting a stop to it, or to start be able to reverse some of these symptoms and work your way back.
Absolutely. Well, I often think of my own situation and think about where I may be today if I hadn't discovered nutrition at age 17, right? At that time in my life, I had IBS. I believe I was on my way to Crohn's disease. So where would I be today? It's pretty scary to think about where I might be today, what kind of health problems I might be faced with today that may have stemmed from digestive issues.
How frustrating is it to hear people say, well, I've come this far, it's too late now. Like, it's too late to change my ways now. I am the way I am. It's too late.
I feel most people who come into a health food store are pretty open to change, right? And education is really helping with that. And you know what? The body, I say this in every one of my seminars, it doesn't matter if I'm presenting on digestion, on detox, on women's hormones, on the immune system. The body is self-healing. It's always striving toward health. When you cut your finger, your body heals itself, right? The body's always trying to maintain health. It's just that often we do a lot of things to interfere with that process. So if we're consuming a diet, if we're living a lifestyle that is promoting health and wellness, the body is able to heal itself. The cells that line the digestive tract, that line our small intestine, die and are replaced every 4 to 5 days. So if you do some things to remove the causes of the stress on that area of the body and promote the healing process, you can really recover and regenerate your whole system.
It's giving yourself that first couple of days.
Yeah.
It's tough.
More than a couple of days.
Yeah, I know that, right? But if you start to see that you can start to reverse things,
yes,
the body wants to do that. It's so difficult to change people's ways.
Well, and that's where the education comes in. I really feel that once people know why it's important to make the change, when they understand what's going on in their body and they can visualize what's happening to those cells.
I'm visualizing my liver and the plastic, and all this other stuff, and what I'm not doing it any favors.
Right.
Right? And yet where the trigger effect could be down the line as to how it affects so many of the other things you mentioned. It's crazy.
So going back to that, doing a liver detox a couple times a year, spring and fall, is another really good way to support the liver and the hormonal system.
Yeah, we did a great segment on that. And it was funny, the time of year, right? It's kind of like you spring clean your house.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that need to kind of clean out the system?
Because we're bombarded by toxins all the time. They accumulate in fatty tissue in the body. Toxins, our body doesn't like to have toxins circulating. It's dangerous. So it'll store them. It'll store them in the brain and the nervous system, because the brain and the nervous system is 70% fat. It'll store them in the endocrine system, in the hormonal glands. And those toxins will then affect those areas. So doing a detox twice a year, spring and fall are ideal times. Some people like to do it after Christmas, after the holidays, right? That New Year's resolution kind of time of year is really helpful at just giving those organs a boost and a break. So you're eating a really clean diet for a period of time. So you're not putting a lot of toxins into the body. And then you're taking some products that help to support those organs of detoxification so that they can naturally do their job effectively.
You do, and you had mentioned this. I mean, part of your job, and it's interesting how you joined up with Natural Food Pantry, Rick, kind of with the approach of this, of having seminars, workshops, ladies' nights, fun things, because education has really become the pivotal part of your job, and finding more research and information and products and experts to come in and talk.
Yeah. Well, we have a whole variety of speakers come in. We have holistic nutritionists come in to do talks. We have naturopathic doctors in. Most of the companies that the supplement companies that we carry, have an educator. So we have educators come in from various companies so that they can educate on their line of products. And like I said, it's so foundational. It's so important that people receive that knowledge. People are loving it. They're really enjoying it. The feedback we're getting is really great. We have a lot of return customers, and then they feel more confident buying products because they know why they're buying those products and why they're taking those products.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I had known Natural Food Pantry. I'd seen it kind of every time I drove by Westboro. I was really excited when it opened in the Barhaven location, because that's where I'm located. But still, the mindset with people that it's, and I hopefully I'm not offending anyone by saying this, but it's granola. Right, you've got to be wearing Birkenstocks, using all natural products, hair's long, hair under the armpits, and you're buying, that's the image. I think that some people think when they're thinking natural food and whole, and it's like you want to shake them. Yeah. Do you still get that? Because to be honest with you, sometimes it's the first thing that people kind of in their head, let's be honest, that's like the first reaction.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also are under the impression that you have to be healthy and super health conscious. You have to be vegan. Yeah. You have to be on all organic products in order to shop at a health food store. And that's not the case at all. We have a whole variety of people come into the store of every age and stage. Yeah.
My kids have found their favorite ice creams, popsicles, snacks. It's the sugar. Yeah. For me, my biggest change has been the sugar intake and just finding products that are able to do it less.
Yes.
Less sugar, less of the fats, of like the bad fats. The
hydrogenated oils.
Yeah. And do you find that there are a lot more people like me coming in now?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think as women, we're really concerned about our kids' health, and we're seeing issues in the schools. There's allergies, there's diabetes, there's all kinds of ADHD, and people are becoming more and more aware that food plays a huge role in all of that. So as moms, we're looking for healthier, cleaner options. And you're right. In a health food store, you're going to find a wide range of products. There are products that are super, let's say, clean, right? And then there are some that still have the sugar in it, but they have cane sugar instead of white refined sugar. It's the white refined sugar that's really evil. It doesn't have any.
See, I was going to say it's the devil, but you just word evil. That they're both very, very, very similar. Yeah.
Right.
I've liked the changes. And I've liked this new, I was showing you one of my new snacks. It was like protein chips, right? And it's like, I love, like everyone knows, like chips and dip for me is like my favorite. But there's like these protein chips that have like 16 grams of protein, and I'm dipping it into my dip anyway.
Yeah.
So I just need it, and I'm getting my protein. Like I'm opening myself up to new things that I wouldn't have found in a regular store, that I don't mind making the shift because I'm realizing I'm giving myself nutrients more that my body needs, and it hasn't been a difficult adjustment.
That's great.
But it's small, right? You're just asking people to do small things every day that are gonna in the end make a difference.
And there's so many fun foods now in the health food world.
Yeah.
It used to be just a bulk section and a few supplements, but now there's so many products that taste amazing, sometimes often even better than the alternatives. So why not make the shift?
Was it a nice partnership with Rick and his family at Natural Food Pantry? Like they kind of had this vision, right, to be able to make it more than it was than just walking in. You have the nutritionists on hand. You've got test kitchens. You've got they're opening this up to hopefully make this more mainstream.
Well, we just ran our first cooking class last Saturday at the Barhaven location. Now that our teaching kitchen is open upstairs, and it was great. We had 16 people register, and they loved the experience. They want more. They're asking for more. So it's been great working with Rick. I've known Rick since 2001 when I first worked with the Natural Food Pantry for a little while, and he's such a great guy. I mean, his values are there, the integrity. It's a family run business. He took it over. His uncle was the former owner, and he really strives to achieve that family-like environment, and customers are really important to him. And he wanted to expand and enable customers to have more of an experience when shopping at the Natural Food Pantry, not just a shopping experience, right?
And not that you need to be granola
right
to be able to head in. There are a ton of seminars. There's great special events. I know there's like these great promotions that come up, like the $100 for $80, or the 30% off your favorite product. I know that one had just passed a couple weeks ago. Best thing to do is the website. There's a ton of stuff on there.
There's the website naturalfoodpantry.ca is a great place to go, and they can sign up to our newsletter on the website through the website. They'll receive the healthy news every month with recipes, blogs, videos. They'll receive invitations to all of the education events. So we run an education seminar pretty well weekly between the 4 store locations. Come September, we'll be running them a few times a week.
That's busy for you because you're organizing all that.
I am, but I love it. I love forming the connections with people. I love, just empowering people. It's inspiring, and it's a fun job.
We're going to have to hit on a couple of different topics the next time that you're in. But in the meantime, as Natasha mentioned, naturalfoodpantry.ca, if you sign up for that newsletter, you'll get all of that information and then see when all of these seminars and workshops are happening. Of course, you can head to leannelang.com. We've got some of our videos that we've done as well on there. So you can see some of the videos that I've done with Natasha if you're looking for more information. And they do have the 4 locations. I'm very familiar with Barhaven, but you have Westboro, Canada, and Billingsbridge. And then, of course, everything available online as well. Natasha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you in the store.
Absolutely.
Buying my new favorite items for sure. And that is it. That's episode 22 of Living Your Life with Leanne Lang. Have a great day.
Wow, that went by so fast.
I told you it would.
We could have talked for like 3 hours.
I told you it would. I'm like, I'm